for the Susan Taylor Podcast, where we discuss the yoga of mind, medicine, and healing. Author of Feeling Good Matters, Sexual Radiance, and the Vital Energy Program, Dr. Taylor imparts authentic knowledge and practical tools that inspire, educate, and empower us to be a healing force for positive change. So join us and take your life and our planet to the next level.
Hello and welcome to Podcast 56. Do you feel like things are falling apart? In today's episode, I'd like to talk about this with relation to the time of year that we're experiencing, as well as offer practical strategies to ride that wave of change. Our health is more vulnerable when one season cycle goes into another, whether we're looking from an Ayurvedic medicine perspective or traditional Chinese medicine. The change in seasons has an especially strong impact on us, making it easier for imbalances to take root. In the fall, which I'm referring to right now, energy quality becomes drier, rougher, windier. Weathers change. And with that weather change, we see increases in the qualities that are also within us. As the leaves dry up and fall off the trees, the cold wind blows, and the days grow shorter and darker, we can see those imbalances that could possibly happen to occur within ourselves, because they'll show up as dry skin, stiff joints, constipation, bloating, disturbed sleep, and even changeable moods like anxiety, loneliness, scatteredness, even somewhat depression or dysthymia. Do any of these sound familiar? Well, that's what I mean by when I say things are falling apart. We start experiencing some changes that we might not be totally aware of why they're happening. Our system is constantly working to maintain homeostasis. You've heard me say that before, coming into balance. And what happens is our systems make continual adjustments to adapt to remain in harmony with nature. So when the environment around us begins to change, we're affected. Much as a boat is rocked by the movement of the ocean, it's the same kind of principle. Sometimes we can be thrown so out of balance because there's so many changes that are happening with toxins in the environment that have accumulated, and we have weaknesses that begin to develop. Especially, we see that first in our digestive system. It's easier to maintain harmony and balance when we stay near our equilibrium point, our balance point. When imbalances build and accumulate, we may see more drastic and long-lasting effects, which in turn are more difficult to eliminate. As you've heard me say, the longer we hold on to the imbalances, the more they take root into the cellular structure within an organ system within our body. Even our best intentions fall apart, so we have to pay attention to those difficulties that we have early on. But as I always say, remain calm, be aware, living in the moment, slow down, and shift your focus. My first suggestion would be to put the screen time aside and other distractions and really pay attention to your lifestyle habits. And here are some tips that I'd like to help you with or to share with you so that you could come back into optimal balance. We know that our diet can cause emotional imbalance or balance for that matter, because so many today eat junk food, or what I say, dumb food, which clogs the energy channels, slowing the metabolism, leading to frustration, dullness, and depressed emotions. This is a fact. When we talk about food and consciousness, what we feed our mind. Eating fresh food that's prepared in a very positive way can actually produce a calming state. Meaning the calming foods that we're talking about are warm, they're soothing, they're grounded, they're cooked with slight fats, oils that are good for you, or ghee. And we could see those recipes in Feeling Good Matters. I have the one recipe that I really am a proponent for, and that's the khichdi. Khichdi is a balanced spice stew that provides support and nourishment. In fact, whenever I feel myself going out of balance, I go right to making myself a pot of khichdi. And it allows the digestive system to relax, rejuvenate, and come back into balance. Remember, all our imbalances of falling apart start in the GI tract. So khichdi I have to say, I can say from a practitioner perspective, has always been able to pull me out and bring me right back. I like to add sometimes a stick of kombu, which is a seaweed. I lost my thought for a moment, to the beans at the beginning of cooking to provide more minerals and actually helps with digestion. And you can also feel free to add a bit more ginger. Some of you have taken my classes on the overnight diet, and I talk about khichdi. And for those that haven't, what I'll talk about is we can put some ginger in there and some spices that will actually increase the heat to our digestive system and get that fire going of digestion. So remember, we want to eat in a calm and quiet way and enjoy that experience for nourishing ourselves. There's some other things that you might want to think about adding to the diet. We know that essential fatty acids are fantastic for the brain, and if you've not added them to your diet already, you might want to think about it. It doesn't have to be necessarily from an animal source. It can be from a plant source, because if we feel with any kind of depression that comes in or distraction, we may be deficient in essential fatty acids. We know that essential fatty acids really help replete the brain because the brain is fat. It's about a 60% fat organ. So keep in mind that fat's very good for the brain. So people with depression or anxiety or attention deficit, I don't want to call it a disorder. Maybe it's a benefit. But if you find that your attention does get scattered when you don't want it to be, essential fatty acid supplementation might be very useful. Also, you might want to check some minerals. If you're a woman who's experienced depression after giving birth, for example, studies have shown that zinc could be playing a role in postnatal depression. Not sure if you've ever heard of that, but zinc is a very, very good metalloenzyme that's excellent for many of the functions that happen in our body. But one of my favorite is magnesium. It's responsible for over 300 metabolic reactions. Magnesium supplementation may be helpful, as those who ingest more magnesium have been shown to have a lower incidence of depression. And then if we move on from diet, we can say that exercise and movement are also not to be overlooked. Research shows that physical activity alone can treat mood issues, especially those with depression lurking in the background. I suggest yoga asana, such as the sun salutation. Again, you can see that in the work that I've done in Feeling Good Matters. It makes it easy because you learn the sequence and then you can do it on your own in a calming sequence of slow, gentle, as a restorative practice. And I do that actually 12 times every morning. That's my practice. And if you're familiar, those that have taken some of the courses, pranayama and breathing exercises, the queen of it all is Nadi Shodhana, which is called alternate nostril breathing. And that practice is phenomenal in bringing back balance to the right and left hemispheres of the brain and restoring the nervous system. And of course, there's also focused awareness, meditation, and I'll talk about that later. But making these part of your daily routine and doing them at regular times, giving them your full attention, will put things right back together very quickly for you. So if you have trouble grounding yourself, meaning your mind is disturbed or distracted, you could also give yourself an oil massage after showering every day. The best times to do this, I like it after showering. And when you give yourself the massage, you do that massage without doing any multitasking. You really concentrate on letting the oil be penetrated by the skin. If you're on the tendency of a hot person, you would use coconut oil. I'm saying sesame is a really good oil for those that are having disturbances with the fall weather. Sesame is the ideal oil for that. If you don't want to get a complete body oil massage, just before bed, I've suggested with parents, just oiling your children warm water, and I've even suggested this, by the way, to adults. If you have trouble sleeping and relaxing and letting go at the end of the day, coming back into balance, rinse your feet with warm water or your children's feet, and then rub some sesame oil in the feet at night, a nice foot massage. It helps produce a really deep, sound sleep. Very, very important. And the other thing that I'd like to say is practice focused awareness, also known as mindfulness and focus. Bringing our focus into a state in our awareness, bringing our awareness into a focused state provides total balance and joyfulness to ourselves. And we can do that. It helps us not be scattered as much. We're mindful, but we're mindful of what we're mindful of. So that's why I call it mindfulness and focus. Remember, the mind is the first to become imbalanced. It's lured by its desires, which are driven by fears and primitive urges that we have. And using that with some alternate nostril breathing with the meditation practice is extremely helpful to calm down. So I'm talking about having movement, working with diet, using a little bit of breathing practice called alternate nostril breathing, and meditation is a way to bring everything back into a focused, calm, and balanced manner. So shift your focus and make Be Joyful your motto or your mantra. Live simply and really let go of the little things. Learn how to fine-tune your routines, your diet, your lifestyle, and habits to keep yourself in optimal health. It's worth the investment to do that. Take the time to really start using yourself as the laboratory, as I say, to really you become the scientist of your own life. And in the meantime, I wish you the best on your journey to wellness and happiness. And that brings us to the end of this episode. And contact us at susantaylor.org if you have any questions, comments, or feedback. And I'd like to thank all of you for listening. The podcast does come out every week, and I like hearing your comments and your questions. They're wonderful, and I'm incorporating them each week into the podcast. And as I say, always do your research, but for this podcast, do the research on yourself. You become the scientist in your own laboratory of your own life, your own mind, and your own body. And until next time, remain calm.